What's up, guys? So today I'm going to do Marco Rubio versus Bernie Sanders 2016. This is of course if Bernie was the the runner-up for the Democratic nomination, and Rubio, which was one of the biggest challengers to Trump, both won the nomination. So a few things will be different. Rubio, of course, is Latino, and he would have a better appeal among Latino Americans than Donald Trump. Now, Bernie, he is Jewish, and he is also a social democrat. I don't think his religion will change much of the outcome, but his policies will. So, I've already filled in the safe states for Marco Rubio, and for Bernie Sanders, I will give him many states on the East Coast as well as the West Coast. And let's go over this. We start in the West, where Oregon, I still believe that would go to Bernie Sanders in a likely margin. I believe that with Bernie running for an open presidency instead of running against an incumbent, he would do slightly better than he would if he was nominated this year, because incumbency is an advantage. So Marco Rubio is, of course, a very good fit for the state of Nevada. Trump did really run up the margins in that state, but still he did not win it, even though it went to him by 5 points. Now, one factor that would really favor Rubio in Nevada is that he was not running against Obama like Romney and McCain was. And in addition, Rubio is Latino. He has a more typical personality, you could say more acceptable personality for established politicians, so he would win Nevada. He would also win the state of Arizona in a likely margin, and that would put him up to so far 181 electoral votes. Now, do not use everything in the West immediately. Let's go to the state of Georgia. It would go to Rubio by a likely margin. It would not be that difficult for him to win. He would not have to campaign there. It is a Republican state, but it was even more Republican back in 2016. Now, Rubio's home state is the state of Florida. Now, one thing is that he is from there, and another thing is he's running against Bernie, a Democratic Socialist. And that is not good if you're going to win the state of Georgia, so it would be a likely win for Rubio, especially the fact that he's not running against an incumbent president. So that would be very difficult for Bernie to win. However, I still think that Bernie would edge out the state of Michigan. He would definitely have a better appeal than Clinton had against Trump, basically because of his focus, at least back then, on workers and labor unions. He went much more far to the left socially in 2020, and that is not a good thing if you want to appeal to working class whites that you have to appeal to in Michigan. Also, although I think the turnout would be down in Detroit, I think that he could sway enough voters to win that state, but not by a big margin, because a lot of people still are not very easy with socialism. Now, the state of Ohio is a bit different. I think that Rubio would win it in the lead margin. It's a bit different. I mean, that state was very ready to vote for a Republican in 2016. The senator, Rob Portman, was seeking re-election. He won that by 20 points. And so with his coattails, it would be very difficult for a Republican to lose in the state of Ohio. And that actually affected a lot of these states here. Another one that it affected was the state of Iowa, which I think would go to Rubio by a likely margin. One thing is very popular Senator Chuck Grassley seeking re-election back then. But another thing is just trade, and I don't think that people would have much faith in Bernie being able to sell their soybeans. Now, next we go to the state of Virginia, which is a more typical establishment state. Now, Marco Rubio is a typical establishment politician, while Bernie Sanders is not, and even though it has voted Democratic for Senate and governor the last few times, I think that Marco Rubio could be able to win the state of Virginia. Not by a big margin, but by Well, a lead margin. It has a lot to do with the Arlington area, Fairfax County, the big metropolitan area around Washington D.C. It would not be a very good place for Bernie. Bernie might have approved actually far in the western parts of this state, but not much, because even though these people are more focused on workers' politics, they are really not that very acceptable to socialists. The state of North Carolina would go with a similar margin to Marco Rubio, about the same as it did for Trump. You could say that Marco Rubio could do even better, but for right now I think that it would be a lean margin also. And the state of Colorado is another state that would go to Rubio in a lean margin. First of all, Rubio, well, Trump was not that far away from winning. He lost by less than 5 points. Rubio would do much better among millennials. Oh, forget it, he was running against Bernie, so maybe not. But he would be a better candidate for millennials, but he would also do much better among typical Republicans that did not like Trump's style, among other things. So, yeah, Marco Rubio is now solidly above the 270 electoral votes that he need to be elected president. Okay, so the state of Minnesota turned very much towards Trump from 2012 to 2016. I still think that Bernie Sanders would actually win that state. Trump did not win it, but it really showed by the number of third-party party voters that people really did not prefer either him or Hillary. But the state of Wisconsin is different. It will go to Rubio in a lean margin, and here's why. Even though Bernie did well there in the primaries, I think he even defeated Hillary. Ron Johnson was seeking re-election, and he had a massive machine that would be activated to get him elected, and would also help Trump. You had Scott Walker and Paul Ryan crisscrossing that state to talk to voters, talk about what issues were important for them. And I really think that he would be able to take that state. Another state I think he would take is the state of New Hampshire by a similar margin. It's a state that Trump narrowly lost. I definitely think that he could have won it, maybe by taking one or two more trips, because it was so narrow. Also, you have the Senate race. I think Rubio could potentially get Kelly Ayotte over the top in that state if he was the nominee, because it was definitely a focus, at least in the Senate debate, about Maggie Hassan went after Ayotte for not denouncing Trump after much of his comments against minorities and women that were very unpopular for some. Also, I think that Rubio would win the 2nd district of Maine. I guess you can say by a lean margin, and do not complicate it, I'll just say that Comrade Bernie will win most of that state. Okay, so we have 2 states left that are in no way going to decide the outcome. New Mexico and Pennsylvania. We go to New Mexico. Now, New Mexico is a state with many Latino voters, but they are not that socially liberal. And Rubio, you could say that he is one of us to them. He's the type of candidate that they would like, maybe not that much his policies, but if you take this Bernie guy, I mean, he's a democratic socialist from a completely different side of the country. I think that Rubio could actually narrow out that state, and I don't think it will be by a few thousand votes, maybe a few tens of thousands of votes. He should be able to win that. And of course, in the end, the state of Pennsylvania. With help from the machine that elected Pat Toomey, I think that Marco Rubio will be able to win that state. And that, even though he does not have the same appeal to maybe the working class as Trump has, he would definitely have much better appeal among the suburban voters in Philly. And remember, he's not running against Obama here, he's running against Bernie. Very different. And also you can make the argument that some of these states like New Jersey and Delaware are not safe Bernie, but just lean. And I get it. Anyway, That's it for me today, guys. Please like this video, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.